We're twins.
And we're twinning today. If you cannot see it, oh yeah, that's not even going to be in the.
No, we don't have to. We could do it in the video.
Hi, and welcome to episode 4. A dentist can't give you heart surgery. At the end of this episode, you'll understand why we chose this title.
Have you ever had a friend ask you to draw a tattoo, decorate a cake, or draw a party invitation? Should you say yes?
Yeah, so that is that is a question, because a lot of these requests sometimes come from people we know in our own family. And it is
you don't want to let people down. It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard to say no. But sometimes you have to just say no to some things. So why shouldn't a children's book illustrator do portraits of pets and tattoos and murals and decorate cakes and all of that?
Yeah.
You know.
Paint faces, party invitations.
Oh God, we're gonna get through, and we've done them all, and this is why. So part of this podcast is how to avoid the pitfalls that we have already done. Like, if you're starting this, and this helps you as a map of the things that worked and didn't work. Here's one: avoid this as much as you can. So.
Yeah. I would say this is kind of like, so if you had a map, this is like the quicksand in the jungle.
Oh, that's a great illustration.
You can just you keep falling into these little pits and these little quicksand or these little traps, because these completely divert you from your goal and your path as an illustrator.
Also, they could be depicted as mirages, because some of them look good and they're like, oh, I'm doing something that is art related, which that is the I guess the thing behind it is that sometimes they look like art related stuff to you and to the people that are asking you. They think that they're doing you a favor. They're going like, oh, I'm going to help you in your career. Would you please go ahead and do my party invitations?
Yeah, I'm going to help you get experience and exposure.
Yeah, experience and exposure.
Oh, yay, more exposure.
If I could only pay my rent with exposure, that would be fantastic.
Oh, yeah, you'd have a much bigger house.
All right, so let's see. If you want to be a children's book illustrator, or whatever other goal you have, because this is not just children's book illustrator. We often say that because that's what we are, but illustration is what we do. So, but whatever other goal you have to think of it as, a lot of people use it as a mountain that you're trying to climb. This is my goal. That's my shining city. That's where I'm headed. That's where I want to go. You have it clear in your head. And the idea is you have to try to keep going until you get high enough on that mountain and you feel you have accomplished that thing before you move on to other goals and other things.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get distracted, you won't continue climbing. You'll just stop.
Right.
And go off on this other thing.
It's tricky because sometimes it feels that you're still headed the right way, but that's when you have to assess and go, wait, is this taking me away from my goal? Is this getting me any closer to my goal? Or I'm just going off on the side trails here, exploring and wasting my time. And getting diverted from my main path. And sometimes it's hard to get back on it. And you're like, wait, what was I doing?
Yeah. It's very hard to refocus once you distract yourself with other activities. Even though these things may be fun, they probably are going to be fun. It's because we're creative people. We're very drawn to, well, first of all, being creative. Usually your mind is all over the place, but anything creative sounds fun and is interesting for you to do, and you're probably going to be good at it. But it's taking you away from the focus of illustrating and your goal as an illustrator.
I think before we dive too far in this, we should be clear that we're not saying that you should not do these jobs to bring money home. If that's what you're doing and it's bringing you money home and you need to do this, fantastic. That's what you do. That's your side gig. That's your side job. That's fine. We're talking about those little favors that you get asked to do and those little distractions that you yourself find that they take you away from your main goal where you're going. So we're not talking about side jobs that are actually bringing you money home. You got to do those.
Yeah, yeah. Or bringing in multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
And also, and I just forgot what I was going to say.
Well, you want to be selective as to which creative endeavors you pick,
Yeah.
or
Oh,
hobbies and things.
yeah. I was going to say that you only have so much time. So when you dedicate time to other things and favors for people, and that draw you away from that, that's time that's lost to you, and you can't use that
Right.
for other things that you're for your main goal.
You're taking it away from something else. Yeah. And again, a lot of the times since we started later in life, we are trying to figure out how to do this with a full life here, like most people, like with families and houses and jobs. So any time that you have left, that you're really taking away from whatever other thing you are. And because you don't wake up one day and you say, hey, I can draw, so I can illustrate children's books, and years, here we go, this is how we do it. It doesn't work like that. You need the time to be able to put it into your portfolio, into your looking for an agent, into submitting your manuscripts and your portfolios out there. It takes so much time that you just don't have it to pull away
And
to do
that's
everything
why
that
you
you're
have
asked to do.
Yeah, and that's why you have to stay focused. And when you're doing these favors for other people, or random tasks, it's distracting you.
So let's go over what we have done, just to show we all fall into this, and we all do it at one point in time. I used to make jewelry, so I was trying to bring some money home at some point, and I was like, okay, this is what I could do. So I was making jewelry, and I invested money into all the stuff to make jewelry. I made some stuff, sold a few. Like you never sold enough to actually say, okay, this is a legitimate business or side job that is actually bringing me income. It was just taking time away from my ability to work on the one thing that I was actually going to be my career. I did sculptures for a while. I taught paper mache sculptures. I taught at senior centers. I, I did these Ukrainian eggs, which were beautiful, and they're so much fun to do. And then I would go and then sell them at these craft shows, craft shows. And then the money that I would make, I would go ahead and buy a couple of dresses from the next craft person that was there also selling their wares.
It gave you shopping money.
Yeah, it gave me enough money in the same show where I sold a little bit of the stuff that I did. I used the money and I bought 2 dresses for my daughter because they were super cute. So then you know that it's not really a job and it's not really bringing you money. It is more of a hobby, or just bringing you a little bit of spending money, but it's not really worth the time that you're taking away from crafting, creating your craft and actually going after your career. I think we do a lot of these things before we make that decision of what is it that you want to do. Also, that might be part of the exploring part.
I do. I was going to say that. I think that's part of it.
I think, and creatives, we do this. We got, because we're pretty good at a lot of these things, because a lot of these things use the same skills. Mm-hmm. Cake decoration, that was another one. I taught private lessons for art, and those were side jobs, but they were not my passion. Kind of like, this is not what I want to do. This is just, it was art related enough to make me feel like I was headed in the right direction, but they were not even taking me anywhere closer to my goal. What are some of the things you did?
I did cake decorating too, and I think that's a common. Yeah. Well, I think especially when you have children, it's a thing that you want, that you realize, oh, I can do this because I'm creative, and I won't have to pay someone else to do it for cakes for my children. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then other parents see that you did it, and then they want to hire you to do it. And so I did that a few times. And then that led into party planning and being a party blogger and doing party invitations. And I had an Etsy shop with party printables for 5 years. Now that I'm not saying my Etsy shop I wouldn't say that was a distraction. I think that was part of my journey, part of the process I had to go through to mature as an artist. But I also did, especially when my kids were little, I painted faces. Because I started with my own kids, and we would do it for Halloween and for their birthdays. And then other parents would see that and they would hire me to do that. And then I would end up doing it other places. I also did nails. My same thing I would do for my daughters. And there was we had a whole Pinterest board of just nail art that you can do at home. But those were things that took me away from my goal. They were not things that were helpful. They were helpful for my family. My children enjoyed it, but it wasn't a way, it didn't bring me any closer to what I wanted to do as a children's book illustrator.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of time.
There's a benefit to having hobbies. In some of these things that you did learn some things in your Etsy store, and you use some of the skills. So some of it does bring you some skills that you later on use in life, and they're kind of art related, and they do help you in some way, but it doesn't get you there any faster. The best way is just focus on it is what you want to do and go and do that one thing.
Well, and I think it's when you start doing it for other people. Like if it's a hobby and you're doing it on your own for yourself, that's different than when other people start asking you to do it. And maybe they'll pay you a little bit, maybe they won't, maybe it's a favor. That's very different than that's not a hobby, but it's also not really a job. It's just something that's taking up your time and taking away from your main goal.
When people see that you can draw, and you will encounter this in life, someone sees that you can draw, then it's just like, oh, you can draw, so you are good at this one skill,
at everything, anything related to art.
So surely you can design a tattoo for me. I brought that up in the title because that is the one thing that I have been asked to do the most. I draw children's books. I don't do tattoos. I've been asked to do 4, and I have people that have tattoos on their bodies, and I wish they didn't, that I designed, because I'm like, I'm not a tattoo artist. You should not be asking me to do this. Trust me, you don't want this on your body. Get someone who is the professional at doing that, not just the person that can draw.
And I think people don't realize that these are skills that are learned over time. And if you have never done it before, you're not going to have this. There are things that go into tattoo art that I have no clue of. I've never done that. So I don't know. I have no idea what is a successful tattoo illustration.
I think the thing is this. Let's divide the world between creatives and non-creative. Well, every human is creative.
I think everyone.
But what I am saying is
creative.
The people that actually draw and make this their passion, their life, that their career, and then the people that are more analytical, that do other things. So for example, I'm trying to make sense of this, because even we do it. Like when I don't play music, and when my daughter's going to play music, or I see someone that plays music, I really admire that, because I cannot carry a tune at all. And it's just that I want to say, hey, can you play this? Can you play that? Can you play this? And they're like, wait, just because I can play the piano doesn't mean that I want to go ahead and play every instrument that is out there. I play the piano, or I play this, or I only play classical music, or whatever it may be. But I get excited, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I want to hear everything. You must know, because you can read music, you must be able to just play everything. It doesn't work like that.
That's true. And you must be able to mix together an album that
we as artists, we have a good hand and eye coordination. So you see something, and you're able to replicate it, we're able to when we see it, we can draw it, and it comes easier to us. So for someone on the outside, they're like, oh, then you can do this. If you can draw this, surely you can draw something else.
Yeah, then you should be able to do caricatures. You should be able to do tattoo art. Yeah.
And most likely you can. You probably will do, but you won't do it at a professional level.
Right. And I don't want people to think that we're saying tattoo artists are
no, tattoo artists are professionals in their field.
Right. They are professional tattoo artists, so they're good at it. And if I've never done that before, then I'm not going to be that good at it. And I'm not going to understand what goes into that. I have no clue.
That's a fine artist is a fine artist. An illustrator is an illustrator. Editorial illustration is very different from children's book illustration.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, graphic designers are different from muralists, exactly. Portraiture is different. Now, it does fall all under the umbrella of art, but it's like I say, music all falls under music, but there's so many genres and different instruments and different things that fall under it. The same thing. So you can't just expect.
Well, and then there's different music. There's orchestra music, and then there's just
band and orchestra. Two different things.
So it's just people from the outside looking and assuming that just because you have these interests and these skills, you'll be good at blanket statement, any type of art, anything involving art.
So then you ask yourself if these favors that you're doing are taking you away from your goal. And so that's when someone else asks you for something. We do that to ourselves as well. We derail ourselves when we start looking at all the little nice shiny things that are out there.
We like shiny things.
We do. So if you watch a video on paper mache sculptures, for a while I was really into paper mache sculptures, and I still someday wanted to do one that it's going to go behind me. I'm pointing behind me because we're also video, it's going to be in the YouTube channel, so I'm pointing behind. I want a dragon right behind my head right there, and someday I'm going to do it.
I think that would be really cool.
But why am I not doing that now? Because I don't want it to derail me from what I'm doing at this moment. So we watch a video on paper mache, and then we're like, oh, I want to do that. And then I'll watch a video on oil painting, and I'm like, gosh, that is so beautiful, I'm going to do that. Then we watch a watercolor video, and they're like, oh my goodness, how do they control the medium? I want to do that.
Which is why YouTube can be a little dangerous.
Oh, yeah. Then what ends up happening is that you will be a beginner sculptor. You'll be a beginner oil painter. You'll be a beginner watercolor painter.
Yeah.
So
you'll never progress.
Yeah, you will go sideways, but you'll never go up, because you keep doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and not the one thing that you're trying to stay on so you can get better at.
Yeah. It's self-sabotaging when you do that, because you're not, am I using the wrong term?
Yeah, that is self-sabotage, and that is, it's part of it. Sometimes you use it to avoid what you don't want to do, and sometimes you just get distracted because the other stuff is really cool. But the amount of time that you devote to your craft is the amount you will progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about time.
So what does it take to say no? Let's go into that.
It takes discipline. It takes saying no.
That's so hard. Huh?
It is really hard. And it takes putting your interests first. Yeah. So when we say putting your interests first, though, we don't mean like your interests in all the shiny things. We mean putting your goals first before what other people are asking you to do as favors. Sometimes
we feel selfish when we take some time to just do our thing, or to have to say no to someone. That's so hard. It was very hard for me for a very long time to actually say no to people when they ask for something. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know if it's harder for beginners or if it's harder for women, or if I don't know what it is, but for me it was very hard.
I just think it's uncomfortable in general, because you care about how people think about you. Mm-hmm. And if you say no, you're worried that they that you'll upset them, or and you might.
You'll get, yeah.
You probably will. But that's a discomfort that you have to come to terms with, because if you're saying yes all the time, and that's kind of a totally other topic too, when you're saying yes all the time and never saying no, then you're giving yourself away. You're giving bits of your time away, bits of yourself away for free. And you can never get that back.
I love that you say you're giving that a little bit of you away, of your time. It's very real.
You have to look at it as precious. It is precious. Your time is precious. Everyone's time is precious. Mm-hmm. But if you don't value your time and you don't value your goals, then you will just constantly give it away. So you have to put value on it. So you'll hold it dear, and stop saying yes all the time, and be more comfortable saying no. But it's hard. It's so hard. It's always going to be hard.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever gets easy.
You always, you're not obligated to take more things than you want to take on. Now, sometimes you do want to do these things. Sometimes you do want to help a friend with their party planning, and so because you are getting something out of it as well. You feel it's fun, and you're making connections, but you have to be able to tell when it's eating away at your personal time.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're telling yourself, oh, I don't want to do this, but I have to, then you cross the line there.
Yeah,
you shouldn't. Yeah, you shouldn't.
You answered your own. Yeah,
exactly.
You answered your own question.
That's a good way. If you're like, I can't wait to work on this with you, then go for it. Yeah, it's that moment when you're dreading, but you say, I wish I wouldn't have said yes to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't have to lie, but you can, like, how do you get out of it? How do you say no to people? You don't have to lie. You can literally say, I can't, I'm too busy. And if you are trying, I use this. I actually use these words when people ask me for little things. Help me decorate these cookies, or help me make this cake, or help me with this, or hey, can you draw me an invitation? When I was working my portfolio, I actually said, I'm sorry, I can't, because I am putting every spare time that I have, I'm putting it on working on my portfolio, which I was. So it gave me that perfect excuse. And that's when I stopped doing that for everybody.
And I think most people won't know exactly what that means if they're not art related, which is good, because then they can't ask more. They can't have follow-up questions to that answer. Like that's kind of a final answer. And since they might not know what working on a portfolio entails, they might not ask for more information, and then you're in the clear.
And it's true. I mean, I'm not saying don't help people out if you need to. This is really just the stuff.
It's being honest.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Sorry.
No. I was just taking a breath.
So for me, and this I often, but this is true too. I'm often too busy, and I have too much work going on. So when in years past, what I would do is I would say yes, even when I was too busy, and my projects and my work would go on the back burner.
Right.
When and so I could do favors for friends or for people that would ask. And now, a few years ago, I decided, okay, I have to take these things seriously, and I just have to tell people I'm too busy right now. I cannot do this. And I feel bad about it, but it's the truth. And they need to learn that sometimes people are too busy.
I think
they don't have time.
That line of when you start saying no is when you actually have made up your mind to make a career out of this, then you're like, because I remember when we met, you were very busy. You were like helping people on
with all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
School. I mean, I feel bad too. That's hard, because with kids, you really want to help with school, but I had to cut back on that.
Yeah, I used to volunteer at my kids' school as well. Mm-hmm. I used to draw their advent calendar every month, and it would take 3 hours to draw this whole month, everything. It was an illustration. And this is the thing, it felt art related, but it had nothing to do towards my career. None of that stuff was in my portfolio. None of that stuff was even geared towards children illustration, other than it was a cartoony style. That's it. It didn't do anything for me personally. Now, I'm glad I was able to put that time in. So it is a balance. But once I actually made the decision to start this career path, I didn't have the time for that.
Yeah.
Another way, and this is where the title comes in. Another way to say no is to actually be honest and say, I'm not the best person for this job.
Yeah.
And this is how we came up with the title, because I literally said this to a dear family member of mine. I don't want to, that now is like the fourth person that had asked me to do a tattoo. And
I have never been asked to do a tattoo. I'm jealous.
I don't know. No, it's just,
I'm just
listen,
kidding.
I would love to be able to do this, but this is not just because you draw something doesn't mean it's exactly how it should go in your body.
Oh, but I wouldn't I wouldn't do it either. It's because I don't have any idea what a tattoo should look like.
But
I don't even have
it's
tattoos.
Just so permanent, and it's just like, look,
Forever.
I think they're beautiful, but I don't want you to have one of my illustrations on your body, and then later on I see it or use and I'm like, ooh, that's very permanent, and that probably shouldn't have been drawn that way. If you want to take one of my illustrations, take it to a tattoo artist and say, make this work in a body, in a tattoo. Because I don't know. I don't know how a tattoo is supposed to be done. I don't know it, but I don't feel confident that I know it. So I actually said this to my family member, and I said, you would not ask a dentist to give you heart surgery. They are two different. And it wasn't, this is, I'm not comparing us to doctors. What I'm comparing it is like two different fields. You wouldn't ask someone who does one specific thing to do something to you that is so, different. So yes, you just can't say, look, I'm not the right person for this job. I think you should go and find someone who specializes in that will do a better job than I can.
Yeah.
And you'll hear, oh no, don't worry, you're fine. And you're like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing this.
Yeah. So, I am not a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
I am not a cake decorator. I am not, and I think that's hard to say in itself, is just saying that out loud to somebody and say, I am not, this is not what I'm good at, and this is not what I have experience in.
So now let's be careful. You are a children's book illustrator. Someone comes to you, I wrote a book, because everybody has written a book, right? So I wrote a book. Can you illustrate my children's book?
That's a loaded question.
That's a big one. I didn't think of that before, but So you're going, well, this will take me towards my mountain. Will it though? Like that's a question maybe for another episode where we're going to work more about traditional and self-publishing and all that. But be careful on those as well, because you could be just treading water and actually not making progress on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes. And there's so much around that
I think we can touch a little bit, because we're not going too long on this episode. Yeah. We can touch a little bit on that. When someone comes up, and it's happened several times, many times actually, and I'm sure it's happened to everybody out there, that they wrote a story and they know you can draw, and hey, we can partner in this, and we can you can do the illustrations, I can do this, because when someone approaches you that way, they don't really know anything about the children's book industry.
Yeah. Well, and I think also, and a lot of people listening might be in the same position I was in the first time I was approached, and I said yes, because I did not realize what it entailed. And so I said yes. And the author was a first-time author, and so we both worked together. It was a good experience for me as a first-time illustrator, but I feel like you have to get that out of your system
Mhm.
But not everyone needs to start there. I was looking, I didn't know where to start. So for me, that was my starting point. And I think that now, with the experience I have and knowing what I know, I wouldn't say yes. So now I know what what the red flags are to look for when someone just says, "Oh, my daughter wrote a book. Can you illustrate it? Oh, I wrote a book. Can you illustrate it?" Just that right there is a red flag, because an experienced author wouldn't say, "Oh, I wrote a book. Can you illustrate it?" They would give you a
Right.
lot more information.
The first time I was approached to do a children's book, it was before I even went to college. It was 17, no, but 20 something years ago, before self-publishing was a thing, before I knew anything about this stuff. And we were both, she wrote a book and, hey, you draw, can you illustrate my book? We didn't even say illustrate. It was like, can you draw my book? Can you draw my pictures of my book? So, and it didn't go anywhere. And I spent so much time trying to figure out what the characters were going to look like and the scenes. And I would just jump in already and read the first line of the chapter or the page, and that's what I illustrated. And we already know that that's not what you do, right? The illustrations have to complement the text, not just copy what the text is saying. And so all of
Yeah.
these things that it will get you some experience in what it is drawing with text, but it is better if you actually learn about the industry before you start doing something like that, because then you work for nothing. You put all that work on nothing.
So if you're still learning and you're figuring it out and you're a beginner, even if someone asks you that and you jump at the chance, maybe you should just wait, and maybe you should just improve on your skills and learn a little more and learn about what it entails and do more practice.
Yes.
Because if you just jump at the chance, like, which is what I did, I just jumped in head first and I figured it out. It can be very painful.
Yeah. Oh, well, we in this thing we actually talk about many times that don't just wait until you're ready and do it. But like you said, you jumped in and you did it. I think it helps if you're gonna do it. You have a friend that wrote a book, and you want to illustrate this book. Take some time. Make sure that book is edited. Make sure that it's the best that it can possibly be. And obviously, if you're doing this, you're self-publishing this book, and then take the time to actually research what you need, what is a page turn, and actually try to do it. But do it with the information that you need to actually do the best that you can. Don't just say, I can draw, so there you go, we do it. I think that's the difference. When you took those books, you did know about what some
I
of the
did
things
research.
that you needed.
Yeah, I did a lot of research.
Right. You knew the size of the trim, and you knew where it was going to be printed and all of that stuff. So because then you don't have to work backwards.
But I guess the answer, though, to your original question is, I have a children's book. Can you illustrate it? It doesn't always have to be yes. It can be yes, but it doesn't have to be. You can say no. You can turn down offers, especially if it might not take you towards your goal.
Yeah, and it's hard to work with people that you know also, like that friendships. Oh gosh, because then you can't say, hey, I don't like the way this thing is going, or it's hard to say, I don't understand the way you wrote this. It doesn't make sense, or it's a boring story, or you can't be completely honest. When a professional relationship is a little bit different, you understand critiquing, and you understand that there will be changes to the artwork and all of the stuff that goes into it. And when it's just a friend that goes, hey, can you illustrate my book? You don't know what, it might actually even damage a little bit the friendship.
Yeah, that's what I would worry about. I would be worried that it would damage your friendship or jeopardize your friendship.
So I think to conclude this episode, what we're trying to say is, it's just like that phrase that says, jack of all trades, master of none. If you are doing everything, you are not going to level up in the one thing that you are trying to do. So try to avoid the shiny distractions
The shiny
and
things.
yeah, and all the cool stuff that is out there, and focus on one thing. Get that going. And when you're at a point where you feel, oh, I've done pretty good, I have my portfolio together, or I my drawing skills have improved a lot, that I feel confident to the point that I don't mind having to redraw this many times because I know I can improve it every time, then take some time and then go ahead, see other avenues that you want to. Then it's fine to incorporate more stuff, as long as it doesn't take you away from your main goal.
Yeah. So I guess that about covers it.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. We'll see.
Thanks for joining.
Next one.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Like, oh my gosh, how do I wrap this up? I have no idea, because that was like a really challenging topic, because I don't want to.
I know, because it's an entire episode. That should be a whole episode.
And I don't want to tell people not to work with self-published authors. I do it all the time, but I feel like there's a huge learning curve there, that a lot of illustrators just jump into it and they have no clue, and authors too have no clue what they're getting into. And we keep saying start where you're at, but it's like, in that case, no, you need to do
exactly. That's
of research.
What I said. We're doing the opposite. We're saying start where you're at, but don't do it.